Doctor slept with patient dying of cancer. He didn't expect what came after. A beautiful black woman lay in the hospital abandoned, alone, and dying of cancer. Her husband walked out without a word. But a white doctor saw something no one else did. And what he did next, it changed her life forever. But wait until you see what happened when the ex-husband returned. Like, subscribe, and watch till the end. Tiana was only 34, full of beauty, grace, and intelligence. But the world had grown quiet around her ever since the diagnosis, stage 3 ovarian cancer. She had once been a strong businesswoman, running her own boutique. Now, she lay weak and pale in a cold hospital bed. Her husband, Derek, once loving and affectionate, now barely visited. One rainy morning, he came with a suitcase not hers, but his. "I can't do this," he said coldly, eyes avoiding hers. "You're not the woman I married anymore. You're just broken." And just like that, he left. No kiss, no hug, no promise to return. Tiana didn't cry. She stared at the ceiling in silence, wondering if this was how her story would end. Abandoned, forgotten. A week passed. Nurses came and went. But there was one face she began to notice more often: Dr. Daniel Carter. A tall, white man in his late 30s with kind eyes and a quiet voice. He wasn't her assigned doctor, but he checked on her every morning. One day, he pulled up a chair. "You don't say much," he said softly. "What's the point?" she whispered. "The only person I wanted to live for walked out." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then maybe now, you live for yourself." Daniel began visiting more often. He brought her books, music, even sat with her during treatments. Tiana started smiling again. Her laughter, though soft, returned to her voice. Other patients noticed the change in her eyes. Tiana had once believed love had to be loud and grand. But Daniel showed her love in silence by changing her blankets, feeding her soup when nurses were busy, and reading her favorite novels aloud. One night, after a painful chemo session, she looked at him and asked, "Why do you care so much?" Daniel hesitated, then said gently, "Because the first time I saw you lying in that bed, I saw life, not death." And slowly, without even realizing, Tiana began to fall in love. Her body got stronger. The treatments were working. Daniel encouraged her, held her hand during difficult days, and reminded her she wasn't alone. They never talked about race. He didn't say he loved her despite her being black. He simply loved her, the woman, the fighter, the survivor. By the time she could walk again, Daniel was already part of her soul. 3 months later, Tiana was declared cancer-free. The hospital cheered. Nurses hugged her. And Daniel, he smiled, but his eyes held tears. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she said. "We did." Tiana started living again. She reopened her boutique, wore bright colors. Her hair had started to grow back. She laughed louder now, with freedom in her chest. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel asked her out to dinner. "I want to be with you, not as a doctor, but as a man who fell in love with the strongest woman I've ever known." Tiana smiled. "You already had my heart. Now you can have my time too." That night, she wore a deep red dress. They laughed over dinner, held hands. People stared at a black woman with a white man, but neither cared. For the first time in years, she felt seen, cherished, whole. But then, the past came crashing through the restaurant doors. Tiana and Daniel were enjoying dessert when a familiar voice cut through the air. Well, it was Derek, her ex-husband, walking into the restaurant with a younger, flashy woman by his side. He walked straight to their table. "Didn't expect to see you here, Tiana. You look different." She stood tall, calm, elegant. "I am different." Derek smirked and looked at Daniel. "So this is the guy you're sleeping with, your doctor now? You must be desperate." Daniel remained calm, but firm. "She's not desperate. She's alive, strong, and beautiful, and I love her." Derek scoffed. "Man, you're using my used tissue paper and calling it love." The restaurant went silent. Tiana's eyes widened in disbelief. But before she could speak, Daniel stood up slowly. "She's not tissue," he said. "She's a woman who fought death, built herself back, and now shines brighter than you ever let her. And if this is your idea of respect, you didn't deserve her in the first place." Derek stood frozen. Even the woman beside him looked uncomfortable. Tiana placed her hand on Daniel's arm. "Let's go." He's still the same little man trying to act big. They walked out, heads held high. The room clapped quietly as they passed. Outside the restaurant, Daniel looked at Tiana. "I'm sorry he spoke to you like that." She smiled. "Don't be. He didn't break me. Cancer didn't break me. You loved me into becoming whole." Again, they stood in silence for a moment under the night sky. Weeks turned into months. Tiana and Daniel grew closer. He proposed at her boutique on one knee, in front of the mirror where she once stood bald and afraid. She said yes. At the wedding, Tiana walked down the aisle in a shimmering white dress, her natural curls glowing, her smile proud. Daniel cried openly. Guests from all backgrounds clapped, cried, and celebrated. Tiana looked around and thought, from hospital bed to this moment, I chose to live. I chose to love again. Her father, a retired postman, leaned over and whispered, "You found a man who respects your soul." She nodded. "God sent me a healer, not just for my body, but for my heart." If you believe in second chances, in real love, and in rising from pain like this video, subscribe to our channel and share this story with someone who needs hope.